Couple things I was sent, gotta share with you. Lisa McClain dishes it to him.
You know the answer because I do. I do. So I appreciate your opinion of which you have no facts on, but let me continue and let me educate you some more. The federal government, breaking that $66 billion down, let's look at what we fund. So you might want to get a pencil and paper and take some notes because I'll help you do your job.
Love it when people know their facts, right? And you won't believe how much we put on illegal immigration and the amount America spent under the last administration on the folks that laid down their lives for this country. And I'm not sure if you guys live in a town or city where you're seeing a lot of flags flying that aren't American. Well, all that road blocking, they're gonna put an end to that because it's getting bad. Anti-ICE protests going on and they're getting gnarly. And you guys are hearing all the buzz about the tariffs. I'm gonna break it down so you guys really understand what's going on. Important, crazy information that affects you guys coming right up. My name is Cohen here at Riverside Homestead, and if you're brand new here, welcome. If you guys are into prepping tips, emergency preparedness, and most of all, news and awareness, stuff that you want to know about, be sure to hit that notification bell so you guys can stay up to date. Let's jump into this one. All right, folks, welcome back. Thanks for starting this off with a like. It really helps out the channel. Now, bear with me because at the end of this video, I'm going to break down the tariffs and what they mean really well. And also, before we go over the ICE stuff and how crazy that's all getting, you guys have heard Speaker Lisa McClain. She dishes it to these guys. Love it when people come to the table and know their facts. You guys gotta watch this.
Mr. Chairman, clearly we care, and I know you do. I know we've talked about the numbers, but I think...
Now hold on. This is Senator McClain, and what I need to tell you, maybe you don't know, but $66 billion were spent towards illegal aliens. 66 billion, not million, billion. Now the question that's infuriating, and I'm sure if you guys are anything like me, it makes you upset as well, that only 3.3 billion went on homeless veterans. 66 billion versus 3.3 billion. And these are the folks that laid their lives on the line to protect this country. And you'll see that Senator McClain shares the same passion against what's going on.
The federal government spent over $66 billion on illegal immigrants in 2023, according to the Federation for American Immigration. Does anyone here want to guess how much we've spent on homeless veterans in 23? Guess? High? Well, let's just start. Higher, lower, the same? Anybody want to guess?
Fractional.
Fractional. Thank you. 3 billion. 66 on illegals, 3 billion on people who have laid down their lives for this country. Can anyone explain up there why that makes sense?
Well, one is including all sorts of benefits, and one is just looking at a very, very narrow slice.
No, I'm using the same numbers. Sir, you are. I am using apples to apples.
It would be a very different.
I'm using apples to apples. So since you know, why don't you share with me?
We don't track U.S. We don't track U.S.
Okay.
veterans in the census, so that would be very helpful if we did. Then I would be able to give you a very.
But do you know the answer? Because I do. I do. So I appreciate your opinion of which you have no facts on, but let me continue and let me educate you some more. The federal government, breaking that $66 billion down, let's look at what we fund. So you might want to get a pencil and paper and take some notes because I'll help you do your job. 5.8 billion in SNAP, 10 billion in Medicare, 8.2 billion in uncompensated hospital expenditures, 3 billion for primary and secondary education for illegal immigrants, And how many illegal immigrants are given taxpayer-funded housing compared to the number of homeless veterans that are sleeping on the street? You don't know because you don't want to know. You don't want to see the numbers. Well, I do, and I can share with you the American people do. Because I'll share with you, the people in my district, in Michigan, of the 9th District, we care about our homeless veterans. We care about our veterans. And yes, we care about them a little bit more than we care about people who have broken the law to get here illegally. So I actually have some suggestions and maybe some answers on how to fix it. Instead of $66 billion, here are a couple things we could spend. The White House has requested $13 million for the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans. I'm going to say it again, $13 million with an M, right? Maybe we could find that out of that 66 billion, right? Different between million and billion, big difference. We could funnel some more of that 66 billion to our homeless veterans. Anyone opposed to that? Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it? Anybody got an idea? Anybody got an idea? Why we're not, God bless you, why we're not doing it? I'll tell you why we're not doing it, because the Biden administration does not want to do it. Am I correct? Am I incorrect on that? I didn't think so. This year's budget request from the White House asks for $17.2 billion in mental health spending for veterans. That $10 billion we lose to Medicare spending would surely benefit to struggle with the mental health issues. So why don't we do this? America's a very charitable country. Why don't we take care of our own first? Anyone see a problem with that? Why don't we? I'll tell you why we don't. Because the Biden administration doesn't want to do that. It's maddening to me. The White House budget requested for caregiver support programs not $2.9 billion. Maybe instead of $3 billion for educating illegal immigrants, we can give more funding to caregiver support programs, right? We're all talking about both sides of the aisle, which ironically doesn't even want to participate in this hearing, sadly, but not unexpected. We all talk about caregiving is a problem, right? I hear that on both sides of the aisle. What would happen if we took that $3 billion and gave it to caregivers that live in the United States? Anyone have a problem with that? Why don't we do it? Anybody?
She nails it, saying that it's maddening, right? It's maddening. And in a lot of cases, caregivers, right? That's a great example. Caregivers don't have enough of them. We need more. Not too many people necessarily say that that's the ideal job, but you want to know what would make that job more ideal is if it paid a lot more, right? So how about instead of sending all of this $66 billion to illegal migrants, and yes, take care of our own in our country. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Do we need more representation like that? I mean, she's handing it to him. Not that it's gonna totally make a difference with the way things ran these days, but for you guys to know the difference between what's really happening and what should happen is a great start. Because all at the same time, we're trying to clear out the big old mishap that's happened over the last 4 years. Right here, you can see anti-ICE protests are turning violent and are starting to light fires in California. LAPD has called in extra police with riot gear on the way to the protest. Look at this. Just torching the city. They come over. Apparently they're worried about getting deported back, but on their way out, they're just gonna burn down everything. This one right here is a great example of how people flood the streets during these riots, and it causes a lot of issues, right? If you guys have ever been in a place where there was a riot closing down the street, you know that you ain't gonna get anywhere. And the crazy thing is, even back at our homestead in Washington State, I saw huge protests going on. The sad thing is I don't see any American flags flying. In that specific case, it was mostly Mexico flags flying, and I read through tons of the comments, and people are saying, if you're wanting to fly the Mexican flag, then why not be in Mexico? I know the folks that are here legally, that went through the process, are proud of being American. They're proud of the opportunities that have been given to them, that they earned and went through due process, and they fly the flag, the US flag, and sometimes they fly both, which is great. It's when I see just one and it's not the right one. That's the kind of stuff that just makes you scratch your head. Now, like I said, I've got friends that have come across legally, and they are just as upset as we are. They think that everyone else, in fact, the ones that are illegal, are getting more benefits than any of the people that are legal. That's the crazy part also. Thankfully, they're starting to do something with some of this protest stuff. It says, here we go. Georgia Republican reintroduces bill to make blocking highways in protest a federal crime. Right here, you can see Representative Mike Collins in an X post put, I will soon reintroduce legislation to make blocking highways intentionally a federal crime. First, Hamas supporters, now illegals, and their enablers are stopping traffic. To make America safe again, we must have law and order. Because I think this type of thing is finally getting out of hand, if not already. Now, I see a couple American flags, which is nice to see. There's a couple other flags that probably Colombia, lots of Mexican flags. Anyway, we're talking about illegal stuff here. It's illegals. So clearly, if they had the opportunity, they would turn our country into something else because they don't like it the way it is. But they want all of our free stuff. And I'm telling you, that has everything to do with lining the pockets of politicians, powerful people. That's my opinion. Now, some of you are wondering the tariff stuff. Someone explain it to me in words I can understand. A lot of people out there getting all hyped up thinking that it's going to destroy the economy. So when you look at trade economics, a tariff is a tax imposed on foreign goods and services. And do you realize that the United States only import 15% of goods and services internationally? The rest is domestic, and everybody's worried about Canada and Mexico. So the 15% that I was saying, do you realize that Canada and Mexico only make up 5% of that? So with it only representing 5% of the GDP, what does that really mean? Basically, it's going to turn Mexico and Canada into third world countries. Well, Mexico kind of already is. And no, we don't want them to turn into third world countries, right? But the fact is that they need to pay their fair share. I mean, do you realize how much we support these countries? And the way this is done is through tariffs. Now, Canada, you guys realize that 20% of the GDP comes from the United States, and 75% of Canada's trades happen with the United States. So what does that mean? If prices go up on Canada goods, what's going to happen with the Americans? They're just not going to buy them. That means Canada ain't going to make any money. And since we're 75% of their trade, can you say detrimental to their economy? And Mexico, even worse. They're at 40% tied to American export. So they're really going to be limping. Now, some of you that have been staying up on the news say, but Canada says they're going to turn off the power on the United States. I don't think so, because Canada's utilities is $55 billion in debt. They can't afford to. Now, for the rest of you that say, well, the rest of the world's going to stop buying from America. Again, they only make up 10% of the GDP. And even if they say, well, we'll pull money from NATO, we fund 75% of that. So if that happens, they'll have to cut all their social services, which means, so for example, Canada would have to pay for their own reparations instead of investing in the military. And really, they don't already. They pay more in social services than they do their own military. So if it gets worse, the tariffs are going to just keep going up. And the reality is they're going to be choking themselves out. In our case, tariffs are good, especially when they're coupled with the tax cuts that we'll get. For those of you that say, yes, it will be inflationary, yes, what we're seeing is about 0.5%, 0.5%. So like I said, basically tariffs are good when coupled with tax cuts for the United States. Then you got coupled with the elimination of income tax, ultimately means it's good for us. So for those of you out there stressing, stop stressing. Tariffs are leverage and the United States is gonna be just fine. If you guys happen to miss this video right up here, be sure to watch it because they slowed it down because I said a lot of things they don't want out there. If you like staying up to date, make sure that notification bell is still clicked on. Got a lot more coming down the pipe. Keep prepping, keep learning, keep doing. We'll see you on the next one.